So a very, very, well, where I am right now in Mallorca, sunny Mallorca, it's good afternoon. And it's good afternoon also to Sally, Lindsay and to Steve White. Guys, how are you?
I'm fine, darling. How are you? It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, and you, because normally what happens to people that don't know, Sally and Steve have been coming to Mallorca for I don't know how long. How many?
16 years together.
16 years, wow. And unfortunately this year, because of what's been happening in the world, you haven't been able to come over. And normally you come and see us on the radio and we normally have a chat. And so what we thought we'd do is we get together and do this. So a lot more people can find out about what you guys are doing and everything else. So how's lockdown been, guys?
It's been interesting. When it first started, I was set to... written a series that we're going to be filming. We were supposed to be filming in May in Malta, and I was the last flight back from Malta because Malta actually shut down weeks before England did, which is why there's been hardly any cases, but that's a different story. So I was on the 10th of March, we'd finished our reconnaissance out there for all the locations and casting and whatever. And we landed, me and my writing partner, Sue, we landed. And then all of a sudden we heard the rumours that something was going on and this virus was coming to, you sort of heard about it before. And then on the 23rd we locked down, and the boys have been homeschooled. The school have been amazing. It's been hit and miss over here in England. Some schools have been phenomenal. Ours was, the kids' school was phenomenal, and some have been terrible to the point where the kids have not had any education at all. So the boys were here in our living room with their two little desks, zooming into their teacher. It was so bizarre, wasn't it? So we sort of used our house as like, I don't know, we just repurposed it. Yeah. School room, that's where you have your dinner. That's where you go and watch your films. And we've only just grown the grass back from the garden because the boys have just been in the garden playing football, bless them. So it's been very odd.
It's been, I think, what a lot of people will say is that it's like circumstance, and we're very lucky to have a nice house. We live in an area with lots of parks, so we feel very blessed that we were in that situation when it actually happened. But as it's gone on, we feel more and more, our hearts go out to people that were not in that position to get the local butcher to put you a little backpack of meat together. And we've been incredibly aware about how hard it's been, not only for people that have been affected by the virus, but, for the ongoing, and secondary issues that everybody's been facing, mental health and not getting treatment for other things. So, but we've just tried to get on, really. I mean, we repurposed out the drum room so Sally could do some voiceovers.
That was fun.
Yeah, which was interesting.
I had like a cymbal stands and I was under a duvet. It's on my Instagram actually. And I was boiling.
But managed to do a series called Manktopia.
We did a series. No, I did loads. I did loads.
There's been out though, isn't it?
Yeah, one's been out. Yeah, two's been out. Yeah, so it's amazing actually. It's what I think what's happened in the lockdown is how amazingly people adjust. So I've concentrated on writing with my company. And because of that, it's caused a lot of more work and more interest from other places that I probably wouldn't have had time to attract before, because I've not been acting solidly. But we are filming, our company are filming something at the moment, a kids animation, which is animation and live action. So we are working, we are doing it. I came back from Manchester yesterday, and it's just a really weird way to walk around a set with your masks, and you've got to go one way, and you're not allowed to go near those actors because they've been, self-isolating together. And so it's a very new normal.
Yeah, and central London is absolutely empty at the moment. Whatever anybody's kind of telling you,
it's rubbish.
It's really...
I mean, I've got pictures on my phone I'll send you of Euston yesterday, and it was absolutely dead. And I got to Piccadilly, Manchester, dead. I got on the tubes, hardly anyone on. Everybody's wearing their masks. There was a copper at the top of the stairs saying, if you haven't got a mask, you're not allowed in Euston. It's been very controlled, and I don't quite know why. The press seems to be saying that we're all going mad and running about with no masks and and having massive parties. That's not what we're seeing.
No.
So listen, obviously you're both involved in the arts, Steve on the musician side, and Sally, of course, on the acting side. And the arts is going for a bit of a tough time, isn't it? Really, I mean, I've got family that are involved in the arts as well, and obviously I'm involved in that. It's the same thing here. I mean, it's the same thing happening here. How do you see it coming out the other side for either music or for theatre and live gigs and TV? Because I mean, Sally, you were in Corrie obviously for quite an amount of years. Corrie never ever stopped. It never stopped, did it?
It did stop, yeah. I mean,
well, no, I'm saying it had before the lockdown.
Oh, it's never stopped in the history of time. No,
exactly.
It's all 60 years. I mean, but it had to stop, which was unheard of. And then they got back, but it was all really weird. And from people I still know in it, and it's obviously a long time ago now, but I imagine it was quite difficult to film. But they had to, because they were filming what was going on in real time, they could get away with it because obviously everybody was social distancing and wearing masks. So I think they're just living the life we're living now. They've caught up. But I think as far as TV goes, I think it's all really that's being filmed at the moment is stuff that was cancelled. Not cancelled, that was halfway through at the start of the year and they just got to finish. And everybody's schedules are up the wall, and you think, oh, we were supposed to be filming in May and June, and then they said possibly September, but now they're literally just going, right, let's just start because we need the sunshine. Let's just start next May, April. Let's just start again. So essentially, it's coming out a year later than it should do.
Sorry, Panto, that's not happening for you either. You're not doing Panto.
There's a form of everywhere. So we've got very amazing friends who have a house in Mallorca, actually, one of our posse in Mallorca, and they own the St. Helens Theatre, and they are actually putting a socially distanced panto on because they feel it's very important for the community. Okay. It's quite a working class area, quite a poor area, and they say it holds the community together. Pantos, they've found a way of doing it.
Fantastic.
So I think really forward-thinking people, in concert,
those that can
have got the money and the resources to do it. But I think it's music. I think it's a different story, isn't it?
Well, I think there's also it's cast a little eye on the fact that we've sort of found out really what our politicians do actually think about the arts and the entertainment industry, and it's they've never been great. They've loved taking the taxes from us, but they've never really supported the arts in the way that many other countries actually have. And I think a lot of musicians that voted Tory are finding out what they actually voted for. I think that it will come back. And I think we're going to start to see probably quite a bit of inspiration from the Southern Hemisphere with Australia and New Zealand, who they've had this virus over their winter. We've had it across the summer, or the worst of it across the summer. So I think the socially distanced, using outdoor spaces, gigs, obviously, being outdoors, and I think we're going to see some innovation, which we will probably see the benefits of next year. I can't see much happening this winter, and I'm afraid, I don't like the idea that that we're not viable. I don't think that's very respectful. Yes, the industry's in a bad way, but a
lot of us were desperately upset when that was said. The amount of tax Steve and I have paid in our careers is a phenomenal amount of money back into this country, and to say that we as artists are not viable, we're viable even if we didn't pay that much tax, because we bring entertainment and the whole industry. You can you imagine being in lockdown without the television, or to put music on, or to read a book? Can anybody imagine that? And I don't think, unfortunately, our government at the moment are thinking that, and it's really, really angered everyone over here in our community and our industry, to boiling point, really, that we're like, hang on a minute.
I think, listen, I saw a great tweet today about this, funny enough. It said that when the governments always want to get a cause out there to find out about, whether it's a charity cause or anything like that, what industry do they go and approach to put this event on?
Arts and entertainment, always.
It's like, I saw a great tweet that said, the next time they have a Tory conference, they can put their own stands up and do their own sound and do their own music. They don't understand that this is a far-reaching community, that it's not just actors and musicians. We're at the front, okay? So you think, well, they're just lovies. It's a whole industry of crew, of roadies, of everything. And to say that we're not viable is it's a real because I've not been, because I have my own company, I've not had any help from the government. Steve's had a little bit, but I've had no help from the government, which is absolutely fine. But to say that I'm not viable is quite.
It's a bit of a kick
in the teeth.
It's a kick in the teeth. But obviously, we do appreciate that. These are unprecedented times, and every industry is kind of looking
totally.
for help. But I think the thing of the not being viable, I think that was the thing that's upset so many creative types, because it's an industry that brings a huge amount of financial benefit to the country, and more importantly, when we do get an angle on this, learn to live with it, vaccine, whatever you decide is the way forward, it will pass. There's no doubt about it.
Of course it will pass.
So people are going to, when times are going to be better, people are going to want to go, and hear a concert. They're going to want to see some classical music. They're going to want to see some blues. They want to go and see a panto and a show. And that's what we've got to remember. That's why it is viable. And it shouldn't be dismissed. And I know it's not a bottomless pit of money, but just a change in attitude of appreciation might have helped.
It does actually seem that, two of the sort of biggest industries, which are sport and the arts, seem to be the ones right on the back burner where we as people or as punters that want to go and watch this to sort of get away from the daily grind of having to deal with what we're dealing with right now, want that to come back, because if it doesn't come back, what are we going to do? Do you know what I mean? I want to go and watch my football team. I want to go and watch Sally and Panto. I want to go and watch the Style Council perform at Wembley again. I want to go and do all those things, and I can't do it.
I mean, interestingly, that's been the most interesting thing, that's exactly what we want to do, isn't it, as human beings? When we come home, we turn the television on, we've got, I don't know how they think it's made then. How do we make this concept? Is it like telefairies, just sort of make it in the back of the computer? It's bizarre that we've been so unbelievably overlooked. And there is a viable way. And I think what really people are really upset about as well is that the super spreaders are usually, when the universities went back, quite rightly they should go back, but they should have been taking precautions. Industries like the entertainment industry and the hospitality industry are way down the scale, but we seem to be the ones that like you're saying, taking the brunt of it. And I don't actually understand why. We don't understand, do we? Why they're like fourth on the list of spreading this disease or this virus, but we're the ones who are getting penalised. It's bizarre.
Listen, let's look forward. Let's get on with some good stuff. And I mentioned before we started this that it was 35 years ago, Steve, that you appeared at Wembley at Live Aid. Am I right in saying you were the youngest musician at the time?
Yeah, apparently I got told that by a Japanese fan who'd done all this incredible research about it. And it's really interesting because it's 35 years ago. We've got the documentary airing on the 31st on Sky Arts, which
everyone can get now.
Yeah, which is free to air in the UK. I'm sure you could find a way to see it, but it's just lovely to listen back to that music and appreciate it, and there's a lot of interest about it. I mean, I think we're currently number one in the pre-orders charts.
I'm sure,
for the new vinyl. So that's really nice, and it's not sort of going on about nostalgia, because none of us as musicians are particularly into that, especially Paul, as everyone knows. But it's really nice to look back on that legacy and think that a whole new generation of younger people and people that never really heard it the first time are going to get a chance to appreciate this music from 35 years ago.
Look, but it never loses. Listen, every time I play Walls Come Tumbling Down on the radio, everybody just jumps up. It's a feel-good tune. It's one of those tunes that you go, oh, come on, this is fantastic. There are, I think, about 35, 40 tracks on this new album coming out.
Yeah. And then people are going, but you left off this and you left off that and you left off this.
It was quite big at the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've got like my compilation, like a digital compilation stuff that I did with Paul, and I mean, I think it's like 340 songs I did over the career that I did, that I was with him. So we were quite prolific.
It could be a bit of exclusive. Any chance of you getting back together and doing something on the back of this?
Well, nobody can play anything at the moment.
It's a nice idea.
So no, he's playing it cool. He's playing it cool. You can tell. You can tell. Now, Sally, I was talking to a lot of people saying that I'm talking to Sally and Steve, and this. That is your new dog.
I'll carry this on.
No, don't worry. But I wanted to talk about. Yeah, no, it's real life stuff. It's Channel 5's Cold Call was listen. Lots of people I've spoken to said you've got to watch this. I haven't watched it, but my co-host on the radio, Aisha, said it is unbelievable. You've got to watch this. So tell us a little bit about it, because this was last November it came out.
Yeah, we filmed it last March, and essentially what happened, it was approached. It was one of those projects that come out and everybody thinks, where's this come from? It's
brilliant.
It was you're gonna show the dog. And there's the blooming dog.
That's not a puppy, is it? Come on, you said we've got a new puppy.
Oh, she's a rescue.
Oh, brilliant. Fantastic.
She came all the way from Hungary.
From Hungary, yeah.
Really
anyway,
fantastic.
So I got this the producer came up to me and said that we've got this idea about this woman who's a carer, and she's very normal and she's lived a life how she thinks is right, and essentially she decides to remortgage her house to help a pregnant daughter out, and in the time of one call, every single, it was £83,000 gets taken away in this cold call. And I was like, oh right, I'm interested, that I like it, this is good. And we discussed it with the writers and that producer, and basically we came up with this 4-part thriller for Channel 5, which they were very interested in having, like a one-time event as opposed to, a returning series. And it's really touched a nerve, because I think it's happened to everyone, nearly
a lot of people.
Everyone, and it's and I'm so amazed it's not been made before. I think it's because people are very embarrassed about it, talking about cold calls, because when they've been victims of it, they feel stupid, and they're not stupid. June, the character I played, was really sort of intelligent, on the ball, and she was just distracted, and it's a method they do. So basically in the first few scenes, before the first break, she loses £83,000. It's that quick. And you can see what cold call does. It reveals how they do it. So essentially they'll say, look, there's some disturbance on your account. You can put it into another account just to save it. If you don't, then you're not going to have any money for 6 weeks. And obviously if you're living day to day on the money you get, you need your cash card. So then you put your money willingly into another account, and then it literally goes around the world and comes back again. And that's it, it's gone. It's completely gone. And that is exactly what happens. It's petrifying. In fact, when we did the press day for it, this massive press day, it got so much interest. And it was bizarre, really. And I think it was because of the subject matter. And this journalist, I can't remember where she was from. I think it was the Mail, and she came up and said, she was a little bit too interested, And I was like, anyway, when we did this interview with her, it was like a counselling session, because it had happened to her. Really? A year before, 4 days before for Christmas, at her father-in-law's funeral, and they lost £45,000 because she was distracted. And it's the most horrendous crime, and you can't pinpoint anyone. That's the
exactly. And would I be right in saying that in normal times, most banks will tell you they'll never call you and tell you about money over the phone.
Ever, and you'll never take any details of the phone. And you must never. That's the thing I learned. I learned so much from it, is that don't give anything if you're not completely and utterly sure of who it is. Get them to ring you back. Get them to have a security code only you know. Sometimes it happens anyway, unfortunately. But even emails, you just be careful. Have a look at the email at the bottom. And see if it's from the Barclays bank account or whatever bank, other banks are available. If it's there, then it's from them. If it's from anything that's bogus on that email, it doesn't look right, just don't trust it. And I think it's a horrible way to be, but I think it's the way to be, because they are so clever. During this lockdown, it's all happened again, hasn't it? business have been set up and then furloughing fake people. That's our money as taxpayers, you know, to help us through this crisis. They're absolutely disgraceful.
Sally, I mean, I'm interested to know, as an actress, and I'm sure you get sent scripts all the time. Could you see a story unwinding once you've actually read that script? Can you see to yourself, oh, I'm definitely doing that, or not sure, or have you sort of erred on not sure about a script, but when you've actually done it, it surprised you? How do you see that?
Sometimes I've not trusted myself, and I've gone for something, and actually when we've been filming it, it's come off the page. I thought there's something here, but I can't quite see it yet, because a lot of time actors bring their magic to the page and then it comes out. But Cold Call was there. You know, I could see it. I could see the last scene and I could see the first scene. I could see the story, and it fascinated me. Having my own company now, I usually create a lot of my own stuff as well, which I find, you know, I really get a kick out of that. I really like doing that. And I think I'm 47 now, as you progress through your career, I think it's a natural progression to start creating your own. I mean, I've always created, but create your own kind of stuff and what you want to do, and also create for other people, which is really nice, that you can write something and you don't have to be in it. You don't have to get up and
would that situation, when you were in Corrie, for instance, would that situation have to be done sort of quicker because you were obviously given scripts quite late on and you had to learn things maybe overnight and stuff like that?
Coronation Street was like the best training ground. I was there for just under 5 years, which everybody thinks I was there for longer, but it was quite a short time. And what it was amazing, the reason it was amazing, because it was such a training ground for learning scripts, working scripts out, learning lines, learning how to cope with different actors, with different moods, you know, learning how to cope with different directors, because you had such a fast turnover. You were working 12, 13-hour days, then learning lines at night. So it was the best training ground I could ever have. And I would employ somebody who's been in a soap over anyone, because I know that they can bring to the party and they don't go on about it. They're really hard-working actors because of that.
Steve, congratulations, by the way, on Sky Arts, The Art of Drumming. You won a television award, didn't you?
Won two. We won the Venice Film Festival Best Documentary and RTS, the Royal Television Society.
First thing he does. Yeah. I've been doing it 25 years, and he thinks, oh, is that easy?
That was good. And that interruption was my Stone Foundation albums that have just turned up. So,
oh, really? We're going to get onto that in a minute. But tell me more about. I mean, you've into some drumming legends when you did that, didn't you?
We did. And I think the poignant thing about it is that for some of these absolute, you know, titans of the instrument, it was some of the last interviews they gave, because since the show we lost Jabo Starks, who was one of James Brown's drummers. We lost Hal Blaine. And we lost Ginger Baker, you know, who passed away a year ago, just 2 days ago. And you know, so for me, it's quite poignant. And I'm hoping, because obviously in the UK, Sky Arts is free to air now, that we'll get a repeat of it.
I'm sure you will.
There's a lot of people that really want to see it again. You know, it was a wonderful experience, and so the drumming community really came together and did something quite special. I mean, I hope in the future to be able to do something, you know, in the same vein, something similar, but it was a really great sort of debut thing to be able to do.
Am I right to say you went to the same school?
We did. Ginger went when it was called Shooters Hill Grammar, and the year I went, it turned into a comprehensive. So he was obviously older than me, but we had a connection of a very young teacher when Ginger was there, a guy called Bob Lloyd, who was a very old teacher when I went there, and he spoke to Ginger and asked him for some careers advice for a young drummer, you know. And Ginger wrote a letter saying, I don't have it, but he wrote a letter saying, just to say, look, I don't really know what to suggest, but just listen to good music and keep practicing. And I was able to mention that to Ginger when I first met him at a trade show in Frankfurt. And I walked up to him and he was smoking a cigarette, and I just said, Bob Lloyd. And he went, how do you know Bob Lloyd? And I went to Shooters Hill Grammar, Eaglesfield. Oh, did you? And over the years, over that sort of 30, 40 years that we would intermittently connect, he would always sort of go, still in South London, you know. And,
no, go. What would you always used
you
to call you?
You put on weight.
No, he was very, you know, I didn't know Ginger, but Ginger had massive affection for Steve, and he almost saw him like his drumming son, really, because they went to the same school, and he was very proud of him, and put him in his autobiography, and said he's still, you know, it was lovely, actually, the relationship you had, because he was a grumpy git.
I could swing.
He was a grumpy git, but he wasn't with Steve. He did all sorts with Steve, and Steve used to go and visit him, so it was a very precious thing you had, wasn't it?
Yeah, but, no, and that's drummers. That's what drummers are you know, are like, and it was lovely to be able to sort of document. And
he came to the screening, didn't he? We were like, Ginger didn't go anywhere, and he turns up in his suit.
We had to get him a chair.
And he was clapping, and he
said that. So anything we can get you, Ginger. And he's like, well, I don't drink. You know, we know you don't drink. He says, but I'd love a cheese sandwich and a cup of tea.
Brilliant.
Cheese sandwich and a cup of tea.
So, Sally, what's coming up? What's you know, obviously, hopefully, we're going to get back to some sort of normality soon. What have you got coming up?
At the moment, I've just filmed a documentary for Channel 5. It's about going around really, really expensive houses in England and just having a nosy, having a sleepover, and see how their lives live. So I'm sort of there for 2 days. It's one of those sort of
Tough
Friday
gig.
night. Pardon?
Tough gig.
Yeah. One of those sort of Friday nights, and we did that under lockdown as well. So it's one of those Friday nights you get a glass of wine and go, "Ooh, I'll have a nosy at that." So it's basically me being you, just having a nosy around these houses, which was lots of fun. We've done 3 of them, haven't we? So they should be out in November. So that's the immediate telly. At the moment, my company's filming a really brilliant kids animation with Don Warrington. And I play the little rabbit, Halifax. That's my little voice. So we're very excited about that. We're filming it at the moment for Milkshake, because our company does, you know, everything. But we've been trying to get it's really, really good kids program. And then I've written this series with my writing partner, Sue, and we will be filming that next year. And that's my company as well, with a co-pro. And that's for Channel 5 as well. And that's going to be on at Saturday night. Hope it's going to be like another Saturday night entertainment thing. It's like a bit of a murder mystery series, but I can't talk about that because they've not released it yet, so I do apologise.
No, listen, and also you've become a patron of is it called the Stone Foundation? Is this anything to do with this? No relation.
Gold from Stone. It's let's just say the author and the poet. He was famously in care for many, many years, and he set this charity up called it was originally called Christmas Dinners. And essentially, it was when you're in care in this country, when you get to 18, you're literally put in a bed sit, and that's it. Yeah, you're on your own. And these people, these kids, they're just kids still. Can you imagine our kids having, like, on a Christmas day, having they've got nothing. They've got no support network around them. So Lem used to say when he was 18, or when he was 16, 17, 18, he's on his own in his bedsit on Christmas Day. He felt the whole world were having a wonderful time round him, decorations, carols. He walked through the streets, and when he came back to his little bedsit, he had nothing. And it's absolutely heartbreaking. And he said, that's the one thing that I wish I could change. I wish I could have, provide a Christmas dinner. That's all it is. And it really, really touched my heart. And I thought, I can't imagine my kids having no one, on that day. He said, days are really important because what they do is they separate you from everyone else again. So not only have you no family, no mum and dad, and they rejected you, you've gone through the care system, then you're rejected again at Christmas because you've got no one to spend it with. So this charity, essentially, it started off with Manchester and London. Now it goes to, I think it's 25 cities in the country. Wow. Basically, your care worker or your social worker, you can inform them saying, I'd really like to go to the Christmas dinners. And it provides a dinner, presents, the most magical day.
Company,
for you. And if you've got your own, if you're a single mum on your own, you've got a little presents for them as well. It's just one day of happiness.
Fab. Sounds fab.
Yes.
You're now the patron.
I'm a patron now, but I've been supporting it forever. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
I love it.
And Steve, well, you just said this Stone Foundation just been delivered to your door as we speak.
Very loudly.
Very loudly. It's a wonderful band that I've been involved with for a couple of years. They're really great guys. They're very hard-working and very dedicated. And it's been lovely to see them build up a fan base enough to look like they're going to chart today in the UK, which is brilliant. Great for them. So I'm really pleased.
And you've written 4 songs, or you're part of 4 songs on that album?
I played 4 songs on the record, and then I'm also doing some music for some of Sally's stuff as well with my band.
Yeah, so the series the series next year, Steve's doing all the music, theme tune, everything for it. He did the theme tune for Cold Call, which was beautiful. I was really pleased with that. And from that, you've got it's sort of exploded a bit, actually.
Lots of nepotism, with but no, we call it United Artists, but
why not?
We're trying to look after each other's interests. But yeah, and then with Chris Haig and Joel White, I've just put a new single out called Something, which is out on our own label. So yeah, it's we're just trying to be as productive and as creative as we can, but obviously mindful that a lot of people are not having a
great time at the moment. Yeah.
And you meeting up with my brother-in-law Don, doing a bit of jamming session, I hear.
We've spoke, yeah, because I've got a little rehearsal room down in Dartford, and I think him and Chester Kamen might be coming along. We all work together with John Lord at
that's right.
Back in the day.
I love them days.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And how are those boys? How's Louis and Victor? They all right?
Rocking.
Do you know what? They've been, I've got to say, and I know some children have really suffered under this lockdown, but they have been amazing. It's been a real show of mettle for them. They've got bored and they've been upset because they love going up to Manchester, and they've missed Mallorca so much.
Yeah.
They've looked at pictures of Mallorca, and and we've looked at the diaries that they've made from Mallorca, so they've missed it so much, haven't they? But I said, we will try and get out as soon as we can, sweetheart. We will be out there, even if it's cold. We'll come out in February. If we can get there, we will get on a plane and come. But they've been amazing. They're 10 now.
They're doing really well in their football. They're obsessed with football, and they managed to achieve a Taekwondo blue and green belt in lockdown, which means that they're on their way to their black belts.
That was more stressful than the lockdown, wasn't it? Because we had to do it online.
But they're chuffed.
So living in Manchester but supporting Charlton, Steve, or what's going on here?
We're in London at the moment.
We live in London.
You're in London. Sorry. Okay. Sorry. So what team have you pushed them to?
Well, I didn't push them to any team. They went to City.
You see, all my family, I'm sort of fourth generation City fan. They're fourth generation City fans now. But all my family are mad City fans. I'm not. I don't really care about football, to be honest. But I support the boys. But so they got onto the City thing pretty much because my brother and my stepdad and my dad, who's passed now, all massive. My mum. So I think they just got drawn into the blue. But they still go to, they play for the junior Reds. Yeah, so for Charlton.
Okay.
So they go see Charlton when you used to be able to go and see it. So they'll always go to Charlton with their dad. It's their second team, but their bedspreads and their posters are City.
Well, we've only just got a new owner, so because a few weeks ago we thought there wouldn't be a Charlton for a few days because of all the idiots that got involved, and now Mr. Sandgaard's taken over, and we're all
happy again,
looking for the good times to start rolling again.